So yeah, everybody knows the song by Humble Pie, 30 Days in a Hole, yeah, yeah. That's what they give you now. But there was this other song by Humble Pie that was called I Don't Need No Doctor. I don't need no doctor. The doctor said I needed rest. He put me on a critical list. Well, I don't have a doctor anymore as of yesterday. Oh, great, it's an empty envelope. Bank statement. I got two different notices that were the same thing, but they basically said that I go to the Altman Medical Group and they're reallocating their personnel, whatever that means. So the office is only open until April 30th. And so I'm like, okay. It said call this number, as at your earliest convenience. I didn't call that number. I called the office because I had an appointment I was supposed to go to today, and I was like, I want to cancel my appointment. And she was surprised, like, you do? And I'm like, well, I'm not gonna go get exposed to this virus thing and go and see medical people if I don't have to. And she goes, yeah, but we do everything over the computer with Skype, or you can even talk to your doctor just on the phone. I'm like, I don't want to. It's not necessary. And especially if I don't get to see her, she's freaking gorgeous. Um, Her name's Mariana. I don't know her last name, but she works with the other doctor who is no longer going to be my doctor, so I can tell you his name. His name is not Dr. Wecky Pants. It is Dr. Joseph A. Cook, and he is the guy that mismanaged my Xanax and gave me the 50% cut and would raise and lower my dose arbitrarily and put me on this roller coaster, which, I should have got hip to quicker. But yeah, should have been like, I got smart fast about it, but the damage was already done as far as like putting me through the ringer. He's also the guy that, oh yeah, I forgot to have the office call you and tell you that you have your prescription is in, because I said call me when my prescription's in, and I called him like 2 or 3 times, but they didn't want to seem like a junkie. So I was in withdrawal, like cold turkey withdrawal, and so I went through a night that I would just as soon forget, where I was up all night, and that's when I talked about my friend saying, I'll call the doctor for you in the morning. And I'm like, why would you need to do that? And he's like, you don't know how you're going to be in the morning. And I'm like, well, that's the fact that I didn't think of that is not a good sign, because at that point, the cold turkeyness was just warming up. But before the night was over, I had me one hell of a night, and I found out the next day that my script was in all along. They just didn't call me. So I went through that night of torture for no reason whatsoever. And so if I ever see Dr. Joseph A. Cook in an alley and recognize him, I may have a fit of temper. I may act without my usual degree of aplomb. But anyways, there's that. The other thing that I have to report is I did go against my nature and bug that guy, and I just told him, like, look, you said you were going to send these prospective living places I could check out to my email, and you never did. So he did. So I have like 4 places I can look at, and see which one I want to live there. The rent on them is probably gonna be like $700 a month, whereas I pay $425 to live in this shithole. But I don't care. I mean, I don't care. I'll figure something out as far as uh, I have to get out of here because people here are irresponsible. I don't know. I just want to get out here alive. I don't want to die in this shithole. Because, I mean, like I said, I heard kids running in the hallway during a fucking pandemic. There's kids, like a bunch of them, in the hallway. You know, heedless germ factories, we'll call them. Some people call them children. But I'm like, how irresponsible can you be, man? It's like we're under a lockdown quarantine and you got kids running around an apartment building hallway. That makes no sense. So, I also was giving it some thought as far as like I did a lot of research yesterday on far as uh, the eviction thing. It's like I can still get processed for eviction if I don't pay the rent here. Now, there's certain counties in Ohio and in the city of Cleveland where they can't evict you at all. They just can't. Um, Here, they can file eviction papers on you immediately, but because of the court situation, it's gonna take 8 weeks to process. That's what I read, and I read from a few different sources. This may change in a week. I don't know. I'm not fucking with the rent until next week. I might shoot the uh, my evil landlord a text. Telling him like, we'll talk about the rent next week. But I got to thinking about it too, and it's like I got this thing, you know, where I don't let people drag me down to their level. Um, so I probably will end up paying rent here, even if there a situation arises where I don't have to. It's really not going to hurt that guy anyway, and I just do it for my own self-esteem. Like that pedal thing I'm going to get in the mail today. That's a guitar workstation. It costs $165. I am not going to go over and demand my pedal from the guy that I'm not talking to anymore that ruined my boat and cost me $1,000 off a sale. And then won't admit that he ruined my boat and then wouldn't put a dime towards uh, rec- rec- what's the word? Recompensating me for his carelessness of leaving the drain plug in my boat and turning it into a mosquito swamp for like 2 or 3 years. And then when he gets a guy that's hot to trot to buy it, pulling back the tarp, and there's like brackish, nasty water in the bottom of the boat, and guess what? Guy don't want to buy the boat no more. And that's $1,000 out of my pocket. 900 because being an honorable dude, I was going to give that douchebag $100, 10% commission. So really took $900 out of my pocket, and he has my pedal. But I, he can keep my pedal. He can remember who he lost, and then I will just buy a new pedal. I'm not going to go over there and demand that shit's mine, that shit's mine, this is mine, just because we're having a divorce. It's like that's just material stuff. Honor, pride, um, just being the better person is worth more to me than stiffing the landlord, $850 when it's probably a drop in the bucket to him anyway. I mean, I discussed this with the dude in the wheelchair who's better with a computer, and he's like, he owns about 30 properties. And so we're definitely a drop in the bucket to him. It's, you know, I had I had ideas of dragging him into court and like exposing him in front of a judge, and I have one statement off of a guy, but I could get like statements, and I could like, I could drag his name through the mud in front of a judge, and I had ideas about like, stopping him from being what he is, but really with the way it's set up, the landlord has more rights than the tenant, so I'm not going to stop him from being a guy who facilitates the drug trade. You know, I'm not going to be Jimmy Stewart in that movie. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, fighting for what's right. It's just going to be, it's pointless because it's not going to work. And I was like, I had fantasies about being that guy. Like, look, exposing him. Like, this is who this guy is. Because I used to love living here, and the neighbors all hate him. It'd be really easy to go to drag him into eviction court and show that to a judge, and nothing would come of it. You know, I mean, the police. Like I said, the police. This is all repeats. I'm trying to be short, and it's not working as usual. The police knew there was a meth trade operating out of here, and they couldn't do nothing about it. They knew all about it, so there's no reason for me to believe that getting a judge involved. And then I even read up on it, and I'm like, they'd have to have a warrant, and they'd have to prove that there was substances on the property to even get a judge's attention, and they would have to have reason to get that warrant. What they did is they got the warrant for the meth cookhouse across the street and not the distributing center, which is right over there, or was right over there. So, yeah, I don't know if I'm missing anything or not, but I just wanted to make a short thing and be brief for a change, to be honestly brief. So that's what we got here. We got me trying. I think I'm gonna take the high ground as far as, even if I can stiff the landlord and things change, I'm still gonna pay him for living in this shithole. Not let I don't believe in letting people drag me down to their level. You know. Um, Lost my doctor. Got some places to look at today. Got in contact with the Brent guy. Am going to be persistent, and am going to have that beautiful feeling of holding them keys in my hand and knowing I have someplace else to go, knowing that I can go outside and finding the place I'm looking for. It's got to have some greenery, and it's got to have some woods. The only place around here that's green is the park, and it's too far away for me to get to. I can go in the back there, and I can sit on some concrete, and there's a little tiny backyard there where my niece insisted we put up a garden. Um, and we did a lot of work clearing that ground. We were farmers, but there's not a whole lot of room back there. I could sit back there and be outside, but it'd still be this place. I just want to leave this place behind and leave all the chicanery, all the madness, all the bad memories, all the ruined relationships, all the drug using, all the madness, the broken toes. Leave it all behind. And like I said, it's already changed me enough. I don't need to let it change my morals on top of it, to where I'm like, oh, I got an opportunity to take advantage of a world pandemic just to stick my landlord for $850. Be different if I needed to do that, but I don't need to do that, so I'm not going to. And quickly, as far as the COVID laws in Ohio, at least, it's more for people whose employment has been disrupted. Who's lost their jobs over the pandemic. The rules that protect them. I can put a link below in an article that come out of Columbus if you're interested in reading about it. It's short. It may be kind of interesting, because it's really like nobody knows how this is going to play out. Like, the landlords don't know what to do, and the landlords also are doing a self-help evictions. I mean, like wild, wild west evictions, where they're like kicking people out that don't pay on their own. Shutting down the utilities. I thought about that, and I'm like, well, he can't shut down the water for just my place, I don't think. I don't think he can do that. He's paying for that utility. I'm paying for the electricity, so he can't shut off my electricity. He can shut off my heat if he wants to. It doesn't matter, because I'm using electricity for my heat anyway. So he can redirect the ducts so no of the no furnace gas heated hot air comes in here, and I thought all this shit through. But yeah, as usual, I should have ended on that stirring speech about my integrity and my morality, but other things come to mind. But anyways, now you're updated on what little minor changes have happened. Unfortunately, uh, my I did talk to my cousin in Florida. We did talk about the situation and the virus down there, and but I didn't get a chance to ask him why he kicked my dad in the balls. Um, because he was too drunk and he just interrupted the conversation and said, I'm sorry to be rude, but I'm gonna eat something and then go to sleep." And I'm like, "Dude, you're not being rude. It's a pleasure to talk to you anytime I get the chance." And he like, "I love you. I love you too." And we're real men. We express our love for each other verbally. So yeah. And that is the end of that, and I will see you tomorrow.